You're listening to the Travis Makes Money podcast presented by GoHighLevel.com. For a free 30-day trial of the best all-in-one digital marketing software tool on the planet, just go to GoHighLevel.com/Travis. Hey, what's going on, money makers? Welcome back to the Travis Makes Money podcast, where it's our mission to help you make more money. If you're new to the show, we release brand new conversations with unconventional money makers every single day of the week. You might be listening to this on another feed or something like that right now. So if you have not yet, please be sure to go to your podcast app of choice and follow the show, subscribe to the show right now so you never miss an opportunity to make more money. And while you're there, if you want to leave us a rating review, we'd be eternally grateful, as it really does help us out tremendously on the show. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about making more money with my new friend, Dr. Angela Jackson. Angela is the founder of Future Forward Strategies, a labor market intelligence, design thinking, and strategy firm that helps leaders transform organizations and develop the human capital infrastructure essential for maintaining competitiveness while driving positive impact. She's also a lecturer at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. She teaches the next generation of students about entrepreneurship and the education marketplace. She was also the architect of the Future of Work Grand Challenge, a groundbreaking initiative designed to rapidly reskill 25,000 displaced workers into living wage jobs within 24 months. If there's anybody that is highly qualified to speak about the subject of making more money, it is Dr. Angela Jackson. So without further ado, Angela, thank you so much for taking the time to join me on the show today.
Oh, thank you, Travis, for the invitation. Great. Happy to be here.
So let's start with kind of a softball here. Angela, tell me about the first dollar you ever made, and tell me about the most recent dollar that you made.
I love that story. So the first dollar I ever made, I had a lemonade stand. I was 10
Oh,
years
great.
old. It was at the end of my street, and there was construction going on in the street. So I'd set up my lemonade stand for the workers who were working, and I was charging about 10 cents a cup. And one of the construction workers walked over and he goes, "Look, I bought a couple cups, but I'll give you $20 if you give us unlimited lemonade." And I said, "Okay, 10 cents versus $20 sound like a great deal." So I said, "Yes." 7 hours later of serving unlimited lemonade, it was my first lesson in pricing your product the right way.
Yeah.
And so I closed down the stand and I really began to understand the value of your time and how you should price that appropriately. So that was first dollar I made. That big dollar was that $20 bill that he gave me. I can still remember it.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
the most recent dollar that I made is on my book, The Win-Win Workplace, How Thriving Employees Drive Bottom Line Results. The research that I've done in this book is really relevant, one, to people who are thinking about their next opportunity or job, but also companies who are thinking about how they keep their A players.
Mm.
Because there's a cost to companies when they're losing some of their best people for very simple reasons. And so I'm coaching up CEOs and other leaders to talk about, let's meet people where they are and help them have extra resources, time, etc., so they can not only engage in work but live full lives.
The Win-Win Workplace. If you're listening right now, please go pick up a copy. I tell you guys all the time on the show, you should have a budget for everything in your life. However, if there's anything you're going to have an unlimited budget for, it's books. Whenever we mention a book on the show, just get in the habit of buying the book and adding it to your reading list. You'll never regret consuming information from people who've been working for decades and then compressing all of that knowledge into like 200 pages. It's an awesome opportunity to learn from people like Dr. Angela Jackson. So thank you for that. And then the win-win workplace is a perfect segue into talking about how to make more money, especially for the employees that are listening to the show. So what are some ways for those employees that are listening that can think about how they can add more value to their workplace, and in return for that additional value can actually create more income for themselves without even having to worry about going and getting a side hustle or something like that?
Yeah. So first, Travis, I just want to double down on your comment about those books to read. Every year when I'm teaching semester, I'm teaching the students, I have like the 5 books that they must have that are
Mhm.
just timeless, time away. So important. That allows me to also level up. And then a bit of good news to share with you, the Win-Win Workplace actually hit the New York Times bestseller list. So coming
Hey.
in strong with you all here. And that's because people want to know how to negotiate. So I think the question that you asked is a really good one. So you're working a 9 to 5 job, you negotiated a salary. Maybe you didn't negotiate the best way when you first started. You're getting these small incremental, raises, 3% here, 4% there. What could you be doing at this time? One is I always tell people first, think about renegotiating. So you are going to be your best advocate. So really understanding and noting what business you've brought, what opportunities, how you've been driving value. Don't wait for someone to come pat you on the back because that may not come. So
Hmm.
the next time that you're in front of your direct manager, talking about how you've driven the business and really using it in that way. Sometimes when I'm talking to coaching clients, they'll come to me and say, I did that project and I knocked it out of the park. I'm like, that's amazing. But what does knocked it out of the park meant? How
Hmm.
much value or revenue did you bring in? Did you do it in less time? How did you save someone money? So really knowing your metrics and using that to really negotiate. Um, Second thing, I don't know if that's any reaction, Travis, that you had to
Yeah, no,
that.
please go. Yeah, second thing. Yeah.
Yeah, the second is every time on the job, we are acquiring very much in-demand skills. You have to think on the job now, we're doing things that will create the future of work. So
Hmm.
really knowing the value of the skills that you have. I started out in journalism years ago. I had a degree in journalism, but that taught me people skills and communications. I feel like that's my superpower.
Hmm.
I would tell any of your listeners, what are the 2 or 3 skills that are your superpower that you think that you're uniquely good at? And find out what people are paying for that on the open market.
Yeah.
So go to places like Fiverr or Upwork and see how much consultings are charging to do that work per hour. That gives you a baseline for what you're worth. And that also helps you decide, okay, I'm working a 9 to 5 job on my own time. Maybe I'll go out to the free market
Yeah.
and do a couple job or two. One example is when I worked in corporate America, I did a lot of pitching and business development. I would do side decks on the side for people who want to go pitch their companies.
Hmm.
And that was $3,000 to $5,000 a pop. And that's something I could do in my sleep because it's something I did every day for my job. I thought it was easy, but other people found it was valuable. So really understanding what skills can you do uniquely that you're good at that people will pay for.
That's so good. Yeah, I love that. Both of these pieces of advice are fantastic because it's something that everybody here can do. If you are not, if you feel uncomfortable negotiating your salary, there's a crazy statistic. I wish I could remember it. There's a, and you might even know it, Angela. It's something about the average person who does not negotiate their salary will make like over 100% less throughout the duration of their career or something. It's a crazy amount of money if you are not used to advocating for yourself. You have to be willing to stand up and advocate for yourself, but with the caveat that understanding that it's not just a matter of time spent at the company.
Yes.
You can't expect raises, especially significant raises, just because, well, I've been here. Okay, great. What's the value that you add? You don't get paid for the time that you spend. You get paid for the value that you add, which is why some people can spend 10 hours being a contractor somewhere and make your annual salary in a month because they come in and help the company save $12 million by doing this thing that they're really good at. They get paid a disproportionate amount of money for the time that they're spending because the value that they're bringing in that time is so significantly greater to the company than the thing that you're doing. So, which leads me to the second point that you brought up, which is the skill set part. That's why you constantly have to be taking personal responsibility for getting better at what you do. Don't rely on just the company training. Don't rely on the SOPs that you were given or the training library that you're looking at. Take your free time and get better at your skill set. Get better at stacking those skills because they will be worth more if they become if you get really good at them.
I
And
completely
yeah,
agree.
if you don't have the ability to do it at that company, then maybe you go to the open job market. Maybe you start looking around and start saying like, hey, well, this, I would really love to stay here. However, this company is valuing my skill set and expertise at this potential salary. So I might have to, switch it around and consider this for a second. So can you talk about the importance of just like advocating for yourself and actually putting this into maybe an annual calendar or quarterly calendar to make sure that you are taking care of you and your family as well?
Yeah, I think by and large, when I'm looking at clients and I'm talking to people, even my graduate students at Harvard, we underestimate our value. And so I think it's really clear that one, as I said, you want to know what is the value of your skills on the open market. Two, you want to know what your goals are. And so, really thinking about what's your number? How much do you want to be making? How do you begin to anchor on that? How do you begin to talk about the value and the savings that you have? And when
Yeah,
you talk about a calendar, you should be looking at this right now, I'd say every 6 months, because the world is changing drastically. And I actually want to give you one tip, and I write about this in the book.
please.
Everyone at this point forward will need to be a knowledge worker. Everyone will have to have an analysis of how they add value, the money saved, the money earned. And the biggest way to do that is with generative AI right now. So
Mm,
every company that I talk to, Fortune 500, I just did a survey of 355 Fortune 500 companies. Everyone's trying to figure out their AI strategy. And so what I'm telling people, if you want to be best positioned in this moment, understand the value that you're able to create alongside generative AI.
yeah.
So play with it. See what things that make you more efficient, that some of the mundane tasks that you may not have to do. So, like right now, every email I get, I'm running it through ChatGPT. It can answer and respond to an email in seconds that I can then edit and send on. So, it's
Mm,
made me more productive. I can do more in an hour than I could, 2 years ago when I wasn't using it and thinking about crafting every single
yeah.
email. The come to your employer to talk about how that you are able to do things more productive, come up with more ideas, be able to teach them something so they could see that you're an innovative thinker. And so that's really big. Again, knowing your value, knowing how you can create it. And I think the biggest piece is just communicating it. We have to, it's not please pay me more or will you give me, these are things that people are earning. And so once
Correct.
you know your wage, once you know your value, I've seen that's given people confidence to actually step forward and advocate for themselves. Because if you don't believe that you have the skills or value, you're never going to advocate for yourself. The other stat you gave was really interesting about the money being left on the table. I'll give a second stat. Typically, people who do not negotiate their salaries, that HR person who's in front of you, they have at least 10 to 15% on average that they could give you in terms of negotiating.
Wow.
They're expecting you to negotiate. And so by not, you're leaving money on the table originally. So not only can you ask for more and use that 10 to 15% by a rule, the second is if they come back to you and they say, okay, money's tight, we can't do this, negotiate your benefits. Is it an extra pay, a week of
Mm,
pay? Is it 1 or 2 days at home? Is it paying for transportation? Is there another benefit that's really of value to you that they can add? Is it them paying for you to belong to a professional network? So always thinking about like what are the things that you need that are beyond the job that they can help you with that might seem small to them but could be significant to you and your success at the job today, but also your career longer term.
Yeah, and I love the idea behind the win-win workplace because it's not a one-way street anymore. Now, maybe 30, 40 years ago, most people would stick at a job for 30 years and the company would have some sort of sense of loyalty at some point in our history. It's not that way anymore. And so I love that you're speaking to both sides of the equation because if you're not in an environment or the company culture that you have is not one that rewards this type of activity, then you should maybe be thinking about a little bit of a change because you need to go to a place that will value you and that will value the additional work that you bring. Like there's always money on the table is the thing. It's even in economically tough times like we're in right now, money doesn't disappear. It doesn't vanish into thin air. It just changes hands. So maybe it just is a matter of like, okay, this particular industry, this sector is getting squeezed right now. That doesn't mean the money disappeared. It just might be in the hands of a different company in a different sector that maybe you haven't thought about working for before. That you can get creative with the value that you have now, the skill sets that you've developed over the last portion of your career, and think about, well, how can I take advantage of this other industry that seems to be doing much better? If this sector is hiring and hiring and hiring, but this sector is firing and firing and letting people go and downsizing all the time, it's like, well, okay, well, maybe it's time to think about how do I remain nimble and flexible, still create a sense of loyalty in myself, but also look for a company that's going to reward the things that I bring to the table because you deserve to get taken care of.
And that's exactly why I wrote this book, Travis. Like with a win-win workplace, I'm talking about companies who are investing in their people differently, who are thinking about reimagining benefits,
Mm,
thinking about childcare, thinking about elder care. We're all in this like sandwich generation
yeah.
that are giving flexible schedules because they know that's how they keep A players. They're not doing that just out of the kindness of their heart. They've looked at the ROI. They know
Yes.
that these strategies are bringing them back dollars and are paying for themselves. And so when I think about someone who's advocating for themselves, don't believe the hype is my big one. If you read and listen to the news, you'd think, the world is ending, everyone's broke, save every penny that you have. And to your point, Travis, like money is still being sent. If you go to the most expensive store in your town, you will see people still shopping and people have jobs. So money is still circulating. So the first thing is you have to disabuse yourself of the fact that, there's limited amount. It's just a lack of creativity. And for us to really think about one, what's our value? What's our skills? And then what are those sectors that need those skills? And I love what you just said too, because there's sectors that we don't even think about that are hiring like crazy right
Mm,
now.
yeah.
That if you work in other sectors, you have transferable skills. I'm thinking about the green economy. I'm thinking about advanced manufacturing. You may hear these words and say, "What is it? What is it in for me?" All of those have marketing jobs. All of those have frontline jobs. All of those have, comms jobs. All of them have engineers. And so it's just a different sector. So really thinking, looking at the landscape of workplaces and sectors, like where else can I take my skills where they need this? And so I would be looking at some of those high growth sectors because those are the people who are one needing people, they have unfilled jobs, and they're looking for people who want to like double down and work with them. And so that's where you're going to find many of these win-win workplace practices evident.
Let's talk about skills a little bit. There's certain things that I tell people that, like, look, if you invest into these portions of your life, there is an infinite level of return. And there's things that the economy cannot steal from you. Money comes and goes, it goes up and down, it's energy, it flows in, it flows out. Sometimes you have some, sometimes you don't have some, sometimes you invest in something that goes down instead of goes up. But at the end of the day, there's a couple of things that the economy cannot take from you, and that's your competence and your connections. Your competence is your skill sets or your knowledge, and your connections with the people that you know. This is a great question for you because you were the architect of the Future of Work Grand Challenge, and you helped to rapidly reskill 25,000 displaced workers into living wage jobs. What are some of the skills that you believe people should be investing into learning at a disproportionate degree right now, considering AI is coming. It's coming for a lot of others. It's coming for a lot of skills that we used to think were never going to be replaced. Even high value skills like lawyers and things like that, where they go into debt to the tune of 300 grand that they're paying. It's a mortgage that they're paying off for 20 years. And even those jobs are being threatened by AI and things like that now. So what are some of the skills that you're looking into the future and being like, you know what, I think you're pretty safe if you work on these skills right now?
Yeah, so there's two. It's a skill, but also it's a mindset. So it's really the ability to learn how to learn. And
Mm,
so that's going to be the constant in this new future of work and world of work. And again, you see, 4 years ago, we weren't even talking about generative AI, right? And now it's going to be the basis of most of the things that we do. All of the companies I researched in the book are thinking about their strategies around generative AI. In 2 to 3 years, they will be something else. And so we really need to have that mindset of being, lifelong learning
yeah.
and being confident in our ability that to know if we apply ourselves, if we try it, we know that we can learn something new. That's going to be the biggest thing in our history of like people and population, we've never had this much access to information at our fingertips.
Right.
Free courses, I think all of the courses I do at Harvard, I put them online and really want to open access those so people can get advantages. And so
Wow.
there's not the barriers to learning that we've had in the past. So I tell people, one is get your confidence up that you can learn if given the opportunity and the time that you can learn to do anything, especially if it's something that you're passionate about, because that's when you dig in and spend more time. As you can see here, we're talking about work, we're talking about finance. Like we'd probably be doing this for free, right? Because
Absolutely.
we believe in it so much and it's part and parcel with who we are as people. So that's my biggest advice is like, a lot of people are afraid of change. They're afraid, if I try something new, I might fail. Yes, that might be true. But there's a 50-50 shot. And if you don't take it, then you've lost in the beginning. And I mean, that's the takeaway.
Yeah.
Learn how to learn and then show people that you have that curiosity because that's the type of people want to bring on their team right now.
Yeah, I'll go a step further than that too, Angela, and say you absolutely will fail. Like
Yeah.
just expect it. It's like the fear of failure, the fear of embarrassment has probably been the number one obstacle to innovation that we've ever experienced. The fear of putting yourself on the line for something and being embarrassed when it doesn't work out because you failed is holding more people back than I think we even realize. And just get comfortable, be friends with failure, because it is there's no way around it. If you want to live an extraordinary life, you will fail, and the sooner you come to terms with that, and like I said, get comfortable in that feeling, the sooner you'll find something that you're going to really love and be successful at. It's the people who don't take any swings. It's you don't, you're so afraid to fail, you're so afraid you're not going to hit a home run that you never even step up to the plate to take a swing. And it's like, well, the people who are hitting the home runs are the people who stepped up to the plate and then struck out 100 times in a row. And then they got a base hit, then they hit a single, then they hit a double, and then eventually you step up enough times. It's not just a matter of odds, meaning it's not just a matter of volume and numbers, even though that is a factor. It's a matter of every time they stepped back up to the plate, they got better at swinging the bat. They were upskilling during that time. And the people who are too afraid to just step up in the first place are never going to build the resilience, first of all, but also never build the skill set that's required to see the success that they're wanting to see. And what I've been telling people a lot too, and I don't know how you feel about this, Angela, is that focus right now on the soft skills, because I have a feeling it's going to be a while before AI can replace leadership, a strong leadership, of charisma, magnetizing personality, communication, in-person communication, face-to-face, eye-to-eye contact with somebody. It's going to be a while before AI comes for those types of skills. Whereas like copywriting, even like I said, skills like I talked to a dentist the other day, and it's funny because he does stand-up comedy and he's a dentist, which is typically like opposite personality types. So he's an interesting guy to talk to, and he was telling me about this AI robot that is doing a very technical like tooth replacement surgery for doctors now, for dentists. And he was like, it's obviously very early stages, but he was like, one of my friends even showed it in real time, where he actually sat down and had the machine do the surgery in his mouth. And it's like, again, these are skills that we thought 20 years ago is like, this is what's going to propel you into financial and professional success, because nobody can do this skill. And it's like, even some of those skills are being replaced by AI and machinery and automation and things. But like I said, I have a tough time believing that for a while that they're going to replace things like your ability to lead people, your ability to de-escalate interpersonal relationships in the workplace, or your ability to persuade others on your ideas. I think it might help you to be able to come up with some of those things, but at the end of the day, the emotional intelligence factor, I think, is going to be one of those things that's really difficult to replace.
You are completely right. When we've been looking at the research, what we've seen is those, what we call, I don't call them soft skills, I call them professional skills. I even call
Okay.
them power skills because these are skills that get people opportunities or lose opportunities because people are investing in people, people buy from people.
Yeah.
Um, it's going to become even more important. because as we automate more things, the fact that you can actually have a human in front of you will make a difference. I'll give you an example. I was just in San Francisco a couple weeks ago and I tried one of their driverless cars, Waymo. And so I step into the car and it was this surreal feeling of not having someone up front. And I'm sitting there. And those little moments of connection, even if it's a driver and it's a little exchange after you've had a hard day or something they bring up, that's when we can be human together. And again, that is not going to leave. That's going to become more important. I think where I worry a little bit is that, some of our emerging leaders are struggling with communication because a lot of them, graduated during COVID, started their career during there. And so they're missing some of that communication skills that most of us have grown up with. So I think, again, if I'm thinking of anything, it's like, how do I talk to people knowing that like people are investing in me and what I can do, but they really do want that human to human connection.
Yeah, that's amazing. Angela, I really enjoyed this conversation. I want to ask you just kind of a few quick hitting money questions, then we'll move into the last segment and get you out of here. All right. If you were starting over today, and like I said, you're helping people reskill, you're working on macro problems here. What would you be doing? What would you be thinking about? How would you consider going out and trying to make money if you were starting over in your career today?
Yeah, two things. I would be thinking about my skills and just really knowing the ones that have value and what the value is on the open marketplace. And I'd spend my time talking to people. The biggest thing that you can do in this moment is think about your network and people who are smarter than you. You need to find them. Listening to your podcast is one of them, reaching out to you, offering advice. LinkedIn is your friend. I think people don't use it enough to really make meaningful connections, to get in touch with people before you need anything from them. Dropping a line and saying, okay, Travis, I heard the podcast. That episode was interesting. It's so good. If you ever come through my city, I'd love to meet you. Just really being genuine and authentic in this moment. And then I just think about what I'm passionate about. Follow that. Sometimes people think that that's a luxury, that, we're going to have to do the worst things to make money. The easiest way you're going to make money is by the things that you love to do. It's just a matter of finding someone who's going to pay you to do that. And that's where you're having your conversations. That's where you're talking to people who are doing the things that you love to do, who are working in the places, who are connected to the places. And that's how you get introduced and people begin seeing you as a player and a support and a resource that they want to champion. So that's the biggest thing that you can do right now if you're thinking about making money. This is not the time to say, I hate doing X. I'm just going to put my head down and do it because that feels like work. And I think that's the best thing about being an entrepreneur is that we get excited and that energy is really infectious. And you can be an entrepreneur. You can also be an entrepreneur. You just want to be an ideas person and a problem solver.
Where is the best place to meet some of these people?
So I think they're right there at the fingertips. Literally looking at LinkedIn, who are you following? Who are the people you look up to? Once you go there, where are they going?
Hmm.
Where are they showing up? What conferences are they attending? Where are they speaking? You show up. I'll give you a grand example. I wanted to get into more impact investing. I heard of this guy. I heard him speak on a podcast. I heard he was having an event in San Francisco. People thought I was crazy. I got on the plane and I went there just for the day. And people will say, well, why did you do this? I was in grad school at the time. I couldn't afford an overnight hotel. I knew I could get there in 8, network my butt off and then go on a red eye to get back to the East Coast. But go to where people are,
Hmm.
allow people to find you, make it easy. As fabulous as every listener is, no one's knocking on your door. And if you don't reach out to people, they don't know they can help you. And this is my last piece of advice. 9 times out of 10, people want to be helpful.
Yeah.
People like to be helpful. So just believe in that. I don't care what the headlines say. Give people an opportunity to help you without asking for something. Asking for advice is free. Asking for what they read, a conference they might recommend, that could be a quick email, but that's starting that real genuine and authentic relationship.
Love it. This has been awesome. Angela, thank you so much for taking the time. Let's move into the last segment here. Just some quick random questions, quick random answers. Ready?
Right. Let's do it.
What profession other than your own do you think that it would have been fun to master?
I really wanted to master being the next Oprah. Like, I love listening to problems and just talking about the good things in the world and just helping people. I think I would have been really great at that. Or like a sociologist or something like that.
If you could sit on a park bench with somebody, past or present, and chat for an hour, who would it be?
It'd be my grandmother. She raised me, and she's the reason the woman I am today. So just to talk to her and talk about the success that I've had, it would be an amazing conversation.
I'm sure it would mean the world to her for sure. How do you like to learn or consume information rather best? Books, audiobooks, blogs, podcasts, YouTube videos?
I love talking to people. I love meeting new people who are doing interesting things, smart things. I love talking to people who have different perspectives than me. I feel like I'm always leveling up in those conversations because from those people conversations, not only do you get a connection, but you get the blogs, you get the summits, you get the panels, you get everything that goes with it, but you also get that human interaction.
What is your go to pump up song, Angela?
Ooh, I love Lupe Fiasco, and it's called All of the Lights, and Superstar is what it's called. And it's a song that's just reminding you like how bad you are. And when I say bad, bad in a good way, that we all are bringing something unique to the table, but it's up for us to identify it. It's up for us to share that gift whenever we can. And so it just reminds me of you're great at what you're doing. Keep up the great work and keep sharing all the gifts that you have with the world.
What is something that you are not very good at?
Ooh, I am not very good at organization. And so when you come in, I am like not totally disorganized, but if you were to see my office desk, you'd be like, okay, there's a mad scientist behind there. And I wish it was a bit more organized. Like I see your office, it looks all neat and clean. Mine would have papers all over the place. Um, but my office is kind of like I think. Like I have lots of different projects that are going on at the same time. And so I'm lucky to have a great team that helps me keep everything straight and organized.
As we get everything wrapped up here, where can people go to get more from you?
Absolutely. So go to readwinwinworkplace.com. You will see information on the book. You'll see my book tour where I'm going to be out in the world. Also, if they check out the Win-Win Workplace Summit, we're actually bringing together leaders in Chicago on May 5th and 6th to talk about these practices. And I'd say it's just a group of people who are thinking abundantly, right? Who are thinking about how do we add value? How do we increase value for ourselves and for the organizations and companies we care about?
Perfect. Read winwinworkplace.com. Go check out some of the stuff that Angela's putting out there. I know you will not regret that. Angela, congratulations on the New York Times bestseller list. Well deserved, well earned. Thank you so much for taking some of your valuable time to spend with us here on the show. Everybody else listening, tuning in, remember, money will only solve your money problems. But it's a little bit easier to solve the rest of your problems if you got some money in the bank. So let's solve that problem first here on the Travis Makes Money podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Peace out.